Brenda, just stay away from it. I'm on the phone with them. I don't know. Yeah. Hi. McDonald's? Yeah. I'm down at Disabledland, and we just put one of your restaurants in yesterday. Yeah, into the park. Yeah. Yeah, you guys install it? Yeah. Why is it everybody that gets within 10 feet of the place starts dancing? They're not even eating anything. They're just dancing. What the hell is going on? Is this Brenda, don't get close. Ah, damn it, she's dancing now too. What is going on? Oh, it just happens sometimes. I don't. Why? Aliens. There are no aliens here. All right, look, we're gonna have to cancel this project. I gotta get the gates open and inviting my guest. Yeah, we'll just figure, for the love of God, stay away from it, people. More people dancing, damn it. Never, ever ends here. Trying to open one little amusement park. The gates of Disabledland are now open. Please stay away from the McDonald's, or you may dance yourself to death. I am your humble host, Wes of Disabledland, and today we have an absolutely incredible guest. She is one half of the Bloody Broads pod, and also does double duty on her own, dare I say, a very cozy little podcast called How Did You Get Here? Jamie, welcome. Come on in.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's very good to have you. It is. I have been binging your secondary podcast, and yeah, it is an incredible little thing you've got going on there. Plus Bloody Broads, which is just amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I made it past the McDonald's without getting a dancing fever. And Coca-Cola did not fully revive me, but Diet Coke absolutely will bring me back from the dead. So I do relate to our movie today.
Yes, this was a hard movie for me to watch, simply for the fact of I have recently, due to the fact that my doctor told me I was pre-diabetic a couple months ago, given up most sugar, including my 3 or 4 can of Coke a day habit. So
No.
Watching this film, it was like, oh God. So yes,
It was like an alcoholic watching Cheers.
yeah, pretty much. It's like, oh God, yeah, give me another beer, please. At least I know what film beer tastes like, and I know what Norm was drinking all day.
Right.
And that's a whole other story of my first background experience. But yeah, today I have invited Jamie in because she's a movie person and I am less of a movie person. And today we are talking about the bizarrely classic, somehow a children's movie, and yet I am sorry, it is absolute nightmare fuel, but not in the way I thought it was going to be. 1988, because that is actually important, Mac and Me, starring Jade Caligari, a real live disabled child.
Yes. I was shocked at the representation because I've very vocally said online and on my different podcasts multiple times that most 80s films are kind of trash for representation, as most American films are. But yeah, I was so surprised that this child actor was actually disabled.
Yeah, I wasn't so much. I was shocked by that, but I was less shocked by that so much as many of the other things. This is one of the few times where people will get to see that I will actually admit when I'm wrong. I had not seen this movie in probably about 30 years. And when I was starting this podcast, I was like, there's certain films I am going to cover. And the first one was Freaks that I covered with your podcasting partner, Bhavna. And the second one was Mac and Me. And I was expecting to tear this movie to absolute ribbons.
Yeah.
And while it is a horrible nightmare of a film, the disability representation and the way the disabled person is treated in this movie could not be better today.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, it definitely puts more modern TV shows and films to shame. In particular, just the fact that he's a normal kid, you know, and we don't kind of get this like sob story of how he became disabled or if he was born that way. Like, it's just a fact about him. And then a scene that I was so excited to discuss with you is when he gets dropped into the lake and he manages to kind of save himself, for lack of better, you know, phrasing.
Yep, and the drop into the lake thing is something that I'm gonna talk about in a bit, because it is Paul Rudd's favorite meme, and I kind of want to punch him in the face. But
yeah.
And which is another reason I thought I was going to be able to gut this movie. But okay, so where do we start here in this? I can't believe it wasn't a drug-fueled nightmare. First of all, Probe goes to Mars.
Yep.
Probe finds some Martians that there's no cameras on the probe, so the probe doesn't know there's Martians there. It is apparently just randomly vacuuming things up. And it vacuums up a family of 4 aliens.
I do love that the technology is advanced enough to get us to Mars in 1988, you know, but there's no cameras on it.
No cameras, no sensors.
Just indiscriminate soil collection that's also somehow able to soak up extraterrestrial life.
Well, that they clearly have bones, and yet they are also clearly made of rubber.
Right.
And that just adds to the nightmare. I mean, these are like condom people or something.
Yes, they go by cat physics, where cats are both a liquid and a solid.
And like, for people that have not seen this movie, the aliens in this movie make E.T. look like Grogu as far as cuteness level.
Oh, 100%.
And like, not like absolute nightmare fuel level. They are tall, they are lanky, they are weirdly rubber, but I don't know, they're not CGI. They must have used puppetry or something. I don't know exactly how these were done.
It's a little bit like claymation as well, like the stop motion claymation.
Yeah, I guess there must have been.
I don't know what it was, but like, they were very scary to me as the first time that I saw this.
And like, I've got to say something about these aliens straight out right now, because this is something I want to go to Hollywood with, because even George Lucas has figured this out in most cases. There is a certain level of anthropomorphic humanoid creature that you are creating. I don't know exactly what the level is. Maybe it's like the difference between like Ewoks and Wookiees and Gungans, where you have to decide these are just human enough that I don't care if you say they don't have genitalia, put fucking pants on them.
It's that uncanny valley, but for movie effects.
Like it is. I don't care that they were smooth as Ken dolls down there. I don't care that these aliens do not have orifices. This is just find a reason. Put shorts, pants, bike shorts, loincloths. I don't care. Flaps of skin. I don't care. Seeing these things wander around butt naked.
Right.
Like, oh gee, why are people freaking out when they walk into the Piggly Wiggly? I can't figure it out.
Right. And just, I mean, I know that this is set in Los Angeles, so I think people are certainly used to a certain level of odd happening, but not as odd as, say, a New York City Times Square would have been in the 80s, pre-cleanup, you know?
Exactly. So, like, the aliens get sucked up, the aliens get brought back to Earth, NASA is pulling the probe apart to get the soil samples out, the aliens explode out a thing, they escape, 3 of them run out into the desert, the other one, little Mac, ends up running out onto the highway, getting hit by a car, turned into a condom on a windshield. Car accident, chaos. A man is on fire.
Right.
They're spraying him with foam. And then this is, I made a big deal about the fact this came out in 88 because 87 is when Lost Boys came out.
Ah, right,
and if
right.
this first scene with the family and the early scenes with the family is not ripped straight out of Lost Boys,
100%. 100%.
I don't know what is. I was waiting for that. I watched it 3 times. I was still waiting them to pull up to Grandpa's farmhouse.
I knew that this got a lot of flack for seemingly being exactly like E.T., but now that you've said the beginning of Lost Boys, I will never be able to erase that from my mind. Like, absolutely, yes.
Like, even later on, when the older brother has the sunglasses on,
yeah,
and he's looking over and he thinks he sees the alien, and then look like he's going nuts.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
All you needed was McDonald's girl to be named Star.
Right. Oh my God. Yes. And the product placement in this film is absurd. It got panned critically, as it should have, for both the Coke and the McDonald's product placements. But I'm a child of the 90s, so I didn't see this until, oh my God, I couldn't even tell you the first time I saw this because I didn't watch it all the way the first time because it scared me as a child. But just absurd amounts of McDonald's shoehorned in there.
McDonald's, Skittles, Coke.
So many Skittles.
Now they apparently actually had a deal with McDonald's, and McDonald's helped fund it, but McDonald's was like, no, you don't put Ronald or anything like that into it, and then for some reason that still happened.
Yeah, I mean he's right there front and center at that birthday party.
Exactly, and oh God, that birthday party. We'll get to that.
Yeah, but, what a fever dream.
So little Mac the alien follows them home to their new house. The mom has lost her job, but they've moved to like this new town, just like Lost Boys. And the house is like all set up to be accessible for her wheelchair using son. They kind of hint that there may have been a car accident.
Yeah.
Because I know the actor had spina bifida, but they hint that there's one scene where they go and like maybe there was a car accident and that's how the father died. Because it's not like there's like a divorce thing, but they don't really harp on it. It's not like Lost Boys where it's like, hey, your dad's an asshole. We can't afford to live here anymore.
Yeah, it's not explicit at all. And I think that mostly has to do with the fact that it's a kid's movie, of course. But
yeah.
Also, this movie just genuinely didn't know what it wanted to be. Like, is it a dance movie? Is it a sci-fi film? Is it a kids movie? Like, they didn't know what they wanted.
Is it a mushroom-filled nightmare?
Right.
But yeah. So Mac follows him home, and being in very E.T.-ish style, Mac is hiding out. They don't really see Mac, and Mac is like doing weird things around the house. He plants a garden indoors one night and like goes to work with power tools in the living room and nobody hears it.
Right.
And this is disability, like this is disability representation win number 1 for me. Of the mom wakes up, looks at like an entire redecorated room with dirt and potted plants and freaking power drills in the wall.
Oh,
looks to her disabled son and is like, how the fuck did you do this? But it must have been you.
Right. I mean, he basically turned it into the Home Depot gardening section. And her immediate first thought is, clearly my son, he's the one that must have been capable of doing all this alone. And I think not getting woken up by it was the first little bit of like, okay, it's a kid's movie. Let me brush that off.
Mommy needed some sleeping pills.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what is this? Like, is it her mom from Nightmare on Elm Street? Like, what's going on? But yeah, I was really impressed with how, again, it just goes back to what I said at the beginning. I was really impressed how he's just another kid the whole movie.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it. And then So he thinks there's something out in the backyard. He goes out to investigate. You get the meme that installed a bazillion troll gifs of him rolling down the hill in his wheelchair off the cliff into the lake.
Yeah.
He gets himself out of that. You expect the little alien to save him. The little alien doesn't save him. But he sees the alien again. He and his neighbor friend, who, ironically enough, the most problematic thing in this movie has nothing to do with disability. It is when they pull into the new house and their neighbor is sitting out on their little white girl neighbor is sitting out on the front lawn in a fucking teepee with a feather in her head.
I know. She's 100% trying to play. You know what it reminded me of? The representation of Native Americans and Indigenous people in Peter Pan. They animated Peter Pan.
Yes, but it is so like something you would have expected if you'd seen it in a 1960s movie, you wouldn't bat an eye. But
well,
that they put it in the 1980s. I'm just
I mean, to further that point, my very first movie that I ever saw in theaters that I can remember was Disney's Pocahontas. So, that was in the 90s. So we weren't too far away from that. But, I mean, there's still people today that try to make it a little less offensive, but they still, they'll make their kids a TP or whatever. I mean, listen, I'm always pointing out that we still have sports teams here in America with Indigenous people as a mascot. So,
yeah, it kind of blows my mind. So
I know
the kid and his friend decide that they're going to try, because she has also seen the alien. She saw the alien sneak into the house. They decide they're going to try and catch it. Well, somehow they've already figured out that you can do it with a vacuum cleaner, despite the fact that there's no way they can know that these things can be sucked up with a vacuum cleaner.
Right. Although there is a moment that I did love, and it's probably my favorite line in the whole movie, where she's like, "Your friend, he's kind of cute," and he thinks that she's talking about, I guess, his brother, and he's like, "Oh, his name is whatever," and it's a cute little Abbott and Costello, who's on first moment. But yeah, it's the first of many plot holes.
Yes. So the plan works. They capture Little Mac. They almost kill Little Mac after they suck him up in the vacuum cleaner, and then Mac explodes the vacuum cleaner. Because clearly the containment product of it is not nearly as good as, a NASA-built space probe. Mac blows it up. They, save his life with the healing power of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Because apparently Coca-Cola is the exact substance that is. Doctor Who thought it was the waters of Mars. No, it's the Coca-Cola of Mars. Coca-Cola of Mars, because when they're on Mars, they literally stuck straws into the ground and they suck a liquid out to sustain their lives, and the only thing they can live off is Coca-Cola.
Right. He says, "Oh, what if it's exactly like the water on their home planet?" And just, the conspiracy theorists today would have a field day with this if it came out in 2024.
Oh, God, yes. So the older brother now knows that there's an alien. The mother is starting to believe that there is something chaotic going on. Maybe one of her sons has turned into a vampire. She doesn't know. Because it's just so lost.
It's very Lost Boys. Now that you've pointed it out, I can't unsee it. And I'm going to have to go back and make notes of what else was the overlap of this and Lost Boys. Very on point.
More things happen, including the start of the romantic subplot of the older brother and the older sister of the neighbor girl.
Right.
Why don't you come to McDonald's? You could get a Big Mac.
Yeah, the little sister roasts him. She's just like, "Yeah, come get a Big Mac." Typical bratty behavior.
I bet you want my sister's buns.
Right. I mean, that's basically what she was implying. It's just so many missed opportunities. If this had been a PG-13 movie, they would have had a field day with it.
Oh God. This could easily have been the next version of Porky's or something.
Oh my God.
Like there is definitely like an unrated version of Mac and Me, like
somewhere. Yeah.
locked away somewhere that, you know, Ryan Reynolds will eventually do or something.
Right.
So finally, Mac actually shows himself. But it's time. What are they going to do? It's time to go to the big birthday party at McDonald's that, you know, the kid has been invited to by his new friend, neighbor girl. But Mac shows up. They can't leave Mac alone in the house because the feds have caught on that Mac is in the area. They know Mac's in the house. They're just waiting to go Mac. So what do? We rip apart a teddy bear. We shove
Stuff
a
him
naked
inside.
alien child into the teddy bear, cut out eye holes,
Truly
put it in
nightmare
a station wagon. And once again, great representation. Just how do we get your wheelchair in? I just do this. It's fine.
Yeah, the neighbor mom says, like, I don't know how this works. And I was like, wow, okay.
Well, I mean, she doesn't, but, you know, she also doesn't, like, just try and do it for him or anything, which is what you would expect now.
Yeah, I do appreciate that he had bodily autonomy this entire movie.
Yeah. Oh, there is also a whole jogging sequence that involves little Mac.
That's
like,
my favorite part.
The mom and the son going down hills together because apparently, you know, the kids' brakes don't break that time.
Right.
That is my only nitpick with this movie. I know many wheelchair people, the brake does not snap off like that.
No, I loved the jogging scene. I was getting my entire life because it was giving like the commercial for the Pure Moods CDs that came out, you know?
Yeah.
And they would advertise them on TV. I was dying because every edit in this film just was so out of pocket. A lot of swipes, a lot of fades, reminded me of the very first Star Wars film. This was so 80s in terms of style.
Speaking of Star Wars, did you notice how Empire Strikes Back the scary music gets?
Yes.
Like when bad shit is happening, or like, you know, the intensity of when they're breaking out of the pod. How Empire Strikes Back that music gets.
Truly, like, I wondered what else they were trying to kind of copy and paste from. In addition to E.T., I had in my notes that it was definitely Lucas-esque.
Well, also, and I'll get into it towards the end, Short Circuit 2 came out the same year, and I don't know what came out first.
Okay.
But
I'm very familiar with the first one, but yes.
Don't watch the second one with Bhavna. That's all I can say.
Oh,
actually,
no.
He's in the first one too. Right. Okay. Yeah. Don't watch either of them with Bhavna. They will make Bhavna very angry.
Okay. Noted. Thank you for that warning.
Yeah. It will. I'm sure Bhavna already knows, but yeah. Have you ever seen Hackers?
I love Hackers.
Okay. You know the bad guy from Hackers?
Yes, of course.
Imagine him painted slightly brown and speaking like Apu for an entire movie.
Oh no, that's
for two entire movies.
Literally worse than I thought it was going to be. Wow. Okay.
Now, not dark brown, but just, you know, a couple shades.
Right, like a little tanner than he should be.
yeah. But we're off on a tangent. They get in the car with the bear alien that they're desperately trying to keep quiet as if, you know, they have found a monkey or something.
Right.
It is basically every, like, hide the dog sequence you've ever seen in a movie.
Exactly.
Then they get to McDonald's with the feds, FBI, NRA, I don't know what they are, on their tail. It is like every childhood movie of this time of you eventually end up being hunted by the government.
Right. No, 100%. And we get this incredible breakdance sequence.
Yes, they get to the McDonald's. There are already people dancing. There are people breakdancing in the parking lot, which I am old enough to remember that kind of thing happening. I can remember when breakdancing started and you would literally go places and there would just be like random people like breakdancing in front of the byway or something.
Wow.
like in front of near the doors of the Kmart with like the cardboard box cut out so they could like do the spins and shit. I can remember that quite clearly. So that wasn't too abnormal for me. But then they get into the McDonald's. And everybody buys into this terrible, terrible bear suit that not only has the eyes cut out so that the haunting eyes of this alien can look out. And it is the most, I mean, they've clearly got like a child or a little person or something inside this bear suit for these scenes. It can't be an animatronic. And until the alien hand reaches out to grab someone's Coke, it is just this haunting, weird creature that, quite frankly, looks like that little burlap sack guy from that Halloween series that was like VHS.
Oh, Sam.
Yes.
He looks like Trick or Treat, Sam.
Yes, Trick or Treat. That's what it was. And absolutely, like, no, none of the adults in this place are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they're all the hapless, clueless adults of the 80s and 90s as they were portrayed.
McDonald's girl who has like in the blink of an eye pretty much magically become Big Brother's girlfriend. Yeah. Because, they've had one conversation that, and she's already acting like it. I think he's got his arm around her at one point. This is just normal. The alien reaches out, grabs a Coke, starts drinking it. No one runs in horror. No. This would be like the equivalent of like having a birthday party at McDonald's and someone pulling out a Glock. You would expect people running for their lives. But no. Then the dancing starts. Well,
even the mom of the neighbor says, like, this is an incredible teddy bear. And he's like, yeah, it's one of the new electric ones. And she says, oh, I thought you've had it for a long time. And he was like, oh, yeah, I have. Like, he had to backtrack. Truly, I'm trying to think of the music video with the guy in the dancing bear suit. But that's all I could think of this entire last, 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I can't think of it either. But it was like, This scene is hard to explain because I think they call out something about dance contest. Yeah. Which does not happen in McDonald's, even at birthday parties. I had a McDonald's birthday party once. And in the era of Mac and Me.
I was going to say, listen, I remember up until about the early-ish 2000s, if you could have a McDonald's birthday party, it was like a thing growing up, especially that sheet cake. Oh, it slapped.
Exactly. So, and when I say people were dancing, it's not like a school dance. It is a choreographed dancing nightmare.
Oh, it's full Footloose.
The alien bear creature is jumping up on counters, dancing away. Now this whole scene would seem completely normal if they sold it as like the frog escape scene in the classroom in E.T., where the weird alien is controlling everyone with his mental powers as a distraction. No, these people are doing this of their own free will.
Insane. And I just remembered the music video. It's Punk Rockers by the Teddy Bears. The guy is like he's in a teddy bear suit, much like this. And I swear I was like, they have to have taken inspiration from this movie because what the hell? I mean, full Footloose meets like Build-A-Bear Workshop, you guys. Please go look at this scene.
Just absolute insanity. The dance party is used as a distraction so that the kid and Mac can escape the feds that have brought their little alien cage. Jennifer Aniston is there.
Yes, I hope you noticed her.
I only noticed after I went back and watched after I saw it in like 10 Things You Need to Know video.
Oh, right.
Jennifer Aniston is there for like a second. And then you get yet another 80s thing where this kid in his wheelchair, and I would say that this was one of those things that becomes about, well, this is how the fact that the kid was in a wheelchair, saves the day or is part of the game. Right, this kid easily could have been a BMX bike kid, could have been a skateboarder. He literally does, he leads the FBI or the government or whatever they are on a chase, him in the wheelchair, them on foot, through traffic, down hills.
Insane.
There are cars crashing to avoid him. He at one point literally does the Marty McFly of grab the back of a truck to use it to pick up speed so that they can get away. He happens to roll with Mac into the very Sears store that his mother has gotten a job at, which leads to one of the creepier, I don't know if it was intentionally creepy or not, but one of the unintentionally creepier things in this movie. She's going up the escalator with like this 50-year-old man. I don't know, people looked older in the 80s.
Yeah.
And she says to him something along those lines, how long have you worked in the lingerie department?
I'm so
Did you
glad
catch that?
Yes, because when I heard that, I had to pause. I watched this on Tubi because it was free.
That's how I watched it.
Yes, we love Tubi in this house. Paused it, absorbed what was being said, and I was like, what in the Christmas Vacation is going on here? The National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Like, did somebody put that in the script and the greatest Christmas movie ever made?
Correct.
Did somebody put that in the script, or did they just say something?
I really hope it was ad-libbed. Like, part of me wants it to be ad-libbed, because if so, she's a legend for that.
Yeah, like, so her son comes speeding, hauling ass through the store. She runs down the escalator because he's being chased by the federal government. Mac then uses his gnarly space powers to seal the doors after they get out so that the FBI can't chase. They throw a console TV through the window. Then they do the brother, the girlfriend, and the neighbor girl do this incredible van pickup scene where they lift Mac out of the kid's lap and then lift the kid, wheelchair and all, into the van and make their getaway. You may have thought this is as insane as this movie can get.
Absolutely not.
It does not. Because all through this point, there are clips of the rest of Mac's family slowly dying out in the desert, naked. And here's the thing, the little versions of the aliens are cute. The little versions of the aliens could be Grogu. The adults are like, if you could imagine a smooth as a Ken doll, full frontal, naked, Jar Jar Binks-like creature.
Wait, did you have Nickelodeon growing up? Did you have, like, the channel, Nick?
No, I've got about 10, 15 years on you. So
no, it's okay. It's okay. So for people listening that know, like, earlier Nickelodeon references, it looked like the alien from the little stop motion show they used to have between other shows called Prometheus and Gronk. And it was an alien and a caveman. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I was like, that's kind of like the in-between generations, I feel like. But I hollered seeing this older alien like fall to his knees dramatically to save his son, because the only thing that they keep repeating is how they need Coca-Cola.
Exactly. So basically, throughout the movie, the rest of his family have been falling to their knees out in the desert, lifting their hands and basically praying, sending out a psychic message to their son of, come out and find us in the desert to die too. They can't know where he is. They can't know that he's fine, I don't think. They don't know that he has all the Coca-Cola he can drink.
Right.
So the rest of them, the kids, you know, the Stranger Things crew, as I'm just going to call them from now on in this.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what they are.
They go out. I wish this had been an early season of Stranger Things. I probably would have loved it more. They go out into the desert to try, because like Mac is trying to find his family. They go out into the desert. They find this abandoned mine where Mac's family have crawled into to try and get out of the sun. They go in there, and this is to me the only inclusion unrealistic thing in the movie.
Okay.
They roll the kid in a wheelchair into an abandoned mine. But that you can clearly see the mine tracks are there. The tracks for bringing out the mine carts.
For people who have never been friends with someone who uses a wheelchair or had a loved one who uses a wheelchair, explain how wheeling a wheelchair, I was just thinking the fact that it was sand and dirt. Like, it's already hard enough.
Too.
Yeah, it's already hard enough to walk on like the beach, but imagine wheeling.
Yeah, like I'm not a wheelchair user. I know many wheelchair users. I know playground mulch is a massive problem for a child in a wheelchair.
Exactly, yeah.
I would like to know how this was set, like this set was set up. It clearly, it must have been a soundstage. They must have built a mine shaft.
Gotta be.
And like, it's gotta be, there's no way they just went into like, yeah, obviously they didn't go into a cave somewhere, but all that clearly had to have been designed so that the kid could roll in there.
Yeah, had to have
because
been.
There's no way. So everyone goes into this mine shaft. They find the other three aliens, the younger brother or the younger brother, I can't remember, and the mother and the father, almost dead. The healing power of Coca-Cola comes at it again, but they only have so much, so they've got to go get more. So they push all four of these aliens into this van, into this should have been a shaggin' wagon.
Yeah, it's seriously like we would have called it a hoopty back in the day, like
that once again, this should have been the family from Lost Boys. I really cannot stress this enough. The kid could have met vampires, and there could have been a scene where it was like, you don't have to beat my wheelchair, Michael. You just have to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like there's one other scene where they're like eating something. It's like, and I thought of like the maggots. You're eating maggots, Michael. How do they taste? I can't remember what it was. Oh
God, it was so. Oh damn! Now I can't remember it. But now that we've made this connection between the Lost Boys and this movie, I'm gonna have to go back and like do a double feature situation because I can't unsee it.
Yeah, like it's like the younger sister is even like one of the other Corey.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
It's like, you want to hunt aliens? Here's how we're going to hunt aliens. Only I guess the other kid actually comes up with like the actual plan. But it's just so. And once again, you might think this is where the movie has reached maximum batshit crazy. But no.
Nope.
No. And I'm going to try and pick things up, but I'm just accepting this is going to be a longer episode. I don't care. People need to understand. So they go and they're like, we need gasoline, we need Coke for these aliens. Oh, and they're also feeding them Skittles now too.
Yes. This again, the Skittles placement, the Coke placement, and the McDonald's placement in this film, y'all. It could not have been more American, first of all, but it was very much like what you would expect from a sitcom from this time, not a feature film.
Yes. And they're also in the van trying to keep the father alien from going absolutely apeshit.
Yeah.
Just Father Alien is like the least coherent of all of them. I think he might have been Grandpa Alien and, getting ready for like to be put on TikTok by his kids.
Oh
no. Depending when this airs, people have already probably heard my episode of Dementia Dad TikTok Star. But so they're just trying to keep Dad calm and keep Dad rational because they're doesn't he like bend a crowbar into a pretzel or something? Because they've got to do the trope of they're like abnormally strong.
Strong. Yeah. He bends it into basically a pretzel. Yeah. And then we get this scene with like a shootout ?
Yes. So they go to a gas station. The oldest son calls the mom to like, hey, here's the situation. The aliens get out of the van and walk in. I'm trying to get this right. Okay. These naked claymation monstrosities of alien xenomorphic nature. These things make the face huggers in Aliens look cute.
Yeah, and they like crawl out of this minivan to go into the supermarket, and obviously everyone seeing them in the supermarket are like, what the hell is happening?
But once again, nobody runs, nobody screams until they just call the manager. The manager is like, doesn't even assume they're going to try and pay for the coke that they're taking.
Right.
Dad is delirious. Manager calls for security. Manager, and I am sorry, I am not one for I am very much fuck the police. The security guard, rightfully so, pulls his fucking gun on this 7 foot, 8 foot tall, fucking naked,
nightmare,
genitalist nightmare staring at him, holding a can of Coke with his family.
I was just shocked that the security guard had a gun. It being, 88, not like 2024. It was almost like a low-key political statement of Reagan's America. You know what I mean? I was like, damn.
This is the, once again, National Lampoon's got it up, so I'm going to say it. This is the naked alien Griswold's family vacation, and they've just gone into Buc-ee's because the amusement park was closed.
Right. Yeah.
Security guard freaks out. The kids realize the aliens have gone. They run in. By this point, Dad has pulled the gun from the security guard's hand and is waving it around as if these aliens needed to seem more threatening to humanity.
I wish people could see us both just losing our shit trying to make it through this recap of this scene because I'm in tears. Y'all listening, I just need you to know that my eyes are literally bright red from laughing and wiping my eyes because it is insane. Why? Why does he have a gun?
So then, because the police, the feds, the FBI, and the police they all roll into the parking lot. They grab the kids, pull them out. They're telling the alien to drop the gun. This alien doesn't know shit.
No.
Because apparently Mac can communicate, but the rest of them can't.
Oh yeah, that's never explored at all. Why Mac can understand.
And then, once again, as I've said many times in this podcast, I would like to say that this is the most batshit crazy this movie gets.
And yet.
But it's not over.
Doesn't even touch it, y'all. Doesn't even touch it.
They pull the kids out. They get them behind the cop cars. The aliens walk out of the grocery store, completely oblivious to what's going on. The dad is still holding the gun. The dad is still holding. They go walking across the parking lot, and the feds are like, "We're gonna lose them. What do we do? There's helicopters in the air. You're not gonna lose them."
Right. Don't you have a scope? Aren't you snipers? You're the fed or you're the feds? What's happening?
Jade, I forget the character's name. Jade, the kid in the wheelchair that we've been following all this, says, "I can bring them back." He goes rolling out across the parking lot. Now there is at the other end of the parking lot, this is like a shopping center or something. So there's another store on the other side. It's like a feed shop or something. Yeah. I can't remember. It's some kind of country bumpkin type thing. So the aliens are walking in the parking lot. And I cannot stress this enough. If you're watching this with your children, trigger warning, if they're not already traumatized. They're walking across the parking lot and they're walking away. Alien guns, alien still with the gun in the hand. The kid rolls after them in the wheelchair. Somebody makes a move. I think the brother tries to reach out, grab something or someone. A cop gets bumped. Depending what edit version of this you have, the one we had, the cop's gun goes off. It scares the alien, who turns around and shoots back at the cop. There is an explosion in between. between the aliens and the kid and the cops.
It just blows up the whole supermarket.
I am talking, like, this movie then turns into Terminator 2 that hadn't come out yet. This movie, there is a massive explosion, and you see the kid in the wheelchair immediately slump, because in the Japanese version and in most other versions, and they just edited it for the American, the kid got shot.
It is wild.
Shot in the chest by either the alien or the cop. It isn't really clear. So they have murdered a child in this movie. I want to make this clear. In whatever version you get, things change later on. But for the click, they murder a child in this movie, a disabled child. They murder him with a gun.
Like, we cannot overstate how bonkers this movie is, but I cannot overstate my shock at watching this fully for the first time in my 30s and being like, oh, this was supposed to be a children's film?
People surround, it was made different then, like Never Ending Story. People surround this little boy who is now, they've got him out of his wheelchair. He is on the ground, stone cold, dead, only shot seconds ago. The FBI doctor walks up, takes one look at him, and this is the biggest sometimes I have with Star Trek as well, is sometimes, you can try and save people, and sometimes you just don't bother. Takes one look at the kid, listens to her heartbeat. Yeah, he's dead. Nothing we can do. People are sobbing. The mom has showed up in the helicopter. People are sobbing. People are crying. And then, if this was not Terminator 2 enough, I swear to God, the family of aliens turns back, walks through the inferno from the explosion. I literally heard do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do in my head as this was happening. They surround the kid. This time, nobody shoots. Why the fuck you wouldn't shoot then, I don't know. But this time, the aliens get down, and because they have been powered up by the power of Coca-Cola, they heal the bullet wound. They bring the boy back to life. Now, this is either good disability representation or somehow where the entire movie completely falls apart for me. They seem to insinuate that in this movie, he was disabled from an injury,
right?
And not from an illness. But even if it was an illness, and he was always disabled, it makes more sense to me. But these aliens had the power to heal a bullet wound and raise the dead back to life without consequences, and yet still disabled.
Right, like it was...
Which from a representation thing, I think is great. And this movie, I cannot stress enough, from a representation project, this movie is just absolutely, you could not get better. But I'm just like, really?
Right. It was very much a little bit Jesus-y, like a little bit. But I was glad that he was still disabled, honestly, because like you said, great representation. I don't know what the extent of their healing powers were. Obviously, we don't get much of that because the movie ends not too long after that scene. But, I'm not going to question the aliens that subsist on Coca-Cola. Apparently, they've got something in their system that just turns, instead of turning water into wine, they turn Coca-Cola into a healing potion, I guess.
Yep. So that's all good. They raised him. All I know is it also reminded me of Blade 2 when he rescues Whistler.
Yes.
And Whistler's like, almost turned me into a vampire, all that shit. At least they could have done is fixed my goddamn leg.
Yes.
But so the worst of it is over. We then get, which is basically the epilogue, which another reason why Short Circuit 2 came out in the same year, and I don't know what came out first, but the movie ends the same way. Spoiler alert for Short Circuit 2 of the aliens become naturalized citizens.
I just want to know how
They're
that
up
works.
there
Like,
giving they're up there giving like the whole with their hands up in the air, they're taking the Pledge of Allegiance or whatever it is, and like saying they will defend America with arms if they are asked to, because
right.
dad can wield a gun. And is already used to shooting children.
Oh.
So, and then they're all driving away in a nice pink Cadillac, and it says that, get ready for the sequel that never came.
Right. I just want to understand, like, how their citizenship worked, because you have to renounce your citizenship of your old country when you become an American citizen. It's part of the oath that you take once you pass your tests and everything, part of the ceremony. So how did they magically understand English after not understanding it at the supermarket? Or I guess not fully understanding it at the supermarket.
It seems like they had almost a full year.
Okay. See,
it seems like there was time.
At this point, I was just along for the ride, and I didn't think of it until after the movie ended, and I was like, wait a damn minute. And then, I mean, it's not really that shocking that we don't get a sequel because of how poorly this performed at the box office, but this movie was off the rails,
I forget.
y'all.
I keep forgetting. Like Short Circuit got a sequel, but Short Circuit made a ton of money.
Yeah.
But like, I personally, I think to show the passage of time, McDonald's girl should have been pregnant. Just to add to the batshit of this movie.
Make her a teen mom.
Exactly.
Okay.
But like, and then I know it doesn't mean anything, but just as far as Easter eggs is concerned, the citizenship thing was happening at the LA City Hall, which is also featured in George Powell's War of the Worlds.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Which about invaders of Mars.
Yes, I love War of the Worlds and all of its iterations.
Oh God, we could do a deep dive into that shit, you and me. Because I am such a not a huge fan of the Tom Cruise one, but at least they got a lot of stuff right. I'm still waiting for like an absolutely true make of the book where it's like still like pre-World War One.
Well, that's what makes it truly scary, in my opinion, is if it was pre-World Wars. But I digress, y'all, because otherwise we'll be here for another hour.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Jamie will keep me on track. Jamie is a professional podcaster, and I've been doing this for a matter of months. So, yeah. So we've talked about the representation. Very good all around. No one ever asks this kid why he's in the chair. It is just automatically accepted. There is never a what happened to you moment. There is never, no one looks at him cockeyed. He goes to a birthday party with other kids.
Right.
No one asks any questions. Now, let's not ask any questions about the fucking alien bear on his lap. But that's beside itself. It's never asked why he's in a wheelchair. It's never explained really exactly why he's in a wheelchair. It's not part of his backstory. It doesn't, like I said, the one scene where he uses his wheelchair to escape, they could have been skateboarders. They could have been dirt bikers a la Lost Boys. They could have been BMXers a la freaking E.T. It really, there is no point in this where the only time it affects things is when he goes off the cliff.
Yes, yeah. And again, I had a lot of feelings watching this as an adult and realizing, like, truly how big of a deal it is that he saves himself.
Yeah, for some reason I keep remembering it that Mac saved him, and that was part of the whole mystery thing. But yeah, he does save himself. It's
really strange to watch too. I mean, I would love to hear someone's 2 cents that grew up being a wheelchair user, and if they saw this as a child and how it made them feel. Because again, neither you nor I use a wheelchair, but it's really interesting to me that was a plot point in this movie and really hasn't been duplicated well since then. I mean, to my knowledge.
Well, the interesting thing for me is I know a little girl now, as she's too young to watch this movie.
Right.
I know a little girl that is like pre-K who has spina bifida, who uses a wheelchair and other various mobility devices, who I am actually looking forward to in a couple years being able to say, like, hey, you should watch this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I would like to get her take on it. It just right now it's also kind of terrifying nightmare fuel, and I'm not sure. I'm gonna message your mom and tell her about it. But I would be interested in getting that. And just, I mean, if you're commenting or leaving reviews or whatever, let us know what you think about it. But I got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is why I chose this movie and why I expected to tear it the fuck to pieces. And I will admit I was wrong. I got to talk about the Paul Rudd problem.
Yeah. I posted on Blue Sky that I was going to cover this movie with you. And a lot of people in my mentions were like, oh, Paul Rudd thinks it's like the funniest thing in the world, this specific clip. And I was like, oh,
yep.
Oh no.
Yep. So Paul Rudd, the weakest link in the MCU that has not been fired for beating a woman. Ant-Man 3 sucked, Paul. It sucked bad. He has this little thing he likes to do whenever he goes on the Conan O'Brien show to promote a movie, because all his movies suck and he can't actually just show a clip of his movie. So he'll make a big deal about how he is showing, I'm going to show a clip from Ant-Man 3, da-da-da-da-da. Here, Conan. And he always shows the same clip of the kid going down the hill in the wheelchair and off the cliff. He has kept this going for over a decade, from what I can tell. And this is the only part of the movie he has kept alive. This then became a meme because of it when it would have been forgotten. This became a GIF. And every child with a wheelchair that is on social media will eventually have this GIF sent to them. I moderated an account out of the blue for no reason, just as a troll. I moderated an account for almost a year where I had to delete that GIF daily until we finally figured out how to turn that option off so that people could post no GIFs anymore and get rid of the problem.
That is insane to me. Like, truly.
Nope. It, as I comment on of them, of they couldn't touch a boob in a mortuary and they couldn't get their dick wet in a blender, so they do this instead. Yeah, it is gross, and it's sad because there will be so many disabled people and like wheelchair user kids that are completely turned off from this movie just because of that one memified clip by, blue chew addicted, prime drinking fucking idiots that it'll actually ruin, which is probably one of the greatest, I can't believe I'm saying this, one of the greatest disability representation films ever made.
It is. I'm so glad you agree. Again, color me shocked. And also, I've never been happier to be wrong about a movie.
Don't get me wrong, this might actually also be one of the worst movies ever made.
It is horrible.
And the fucked up thing, much like Brie Larson in the MCU and some of, and like any of those things where, they add a woman to a franchise. Some film exec probably looks at that movie and says, no, the reason this movie didn't make any money is we had a disabled kid in it.
Heaven forbid they own up to the fact that the script was bonkers. The product placement was so heavy-handed that you just couldn't get around it. I mean, we can only hope that one day a movie like this for children gets made that doesn't immediately get torn apart by people who want to comment on Facebook, they're putting woke in my kids' Disney movies. Like,
yeah. Like it boggles the mind. But I swear to you, like, if you're out there, give this movie a chance. You need to at least see it once. If you're older, just get high and watch it.
Agreed.
On anything but not anything that you hallucinate with. Just don't do that. They will come through your window and attack you. I promise you. This is both one of the most uplifting movies I've ever seen and the most horrific nightmares I've ever seen. But it also makes me wonder if Lost Boys wouldn't have been better if there was a little more Skittles in it.
Personally, I think it should have had a little more of the kind of Coke you drink and a little less of the kind that you snort, but that's just me.
Yes, because wasn't Lost Boys another one of those movies that they didn't know what it was going to be?
Oh, yeah. And it was still a little
like
shaky.
It was supposed to be a kids movie at first, and then Schumacher got a hold of it.
Yep.
And
it is wild to me what passed for general air quotes kids movies prior to the PG-13 rating really being not only invented but enforced.
Yes, and okay, but we're gonna wrap things up in a minute here. I'm gonna go a little bit long. I'm gonna go to an hour 5, hour 10. I don't care because this is too good. because I do want to talk about any problematic shit, and I got to talk about the director.
Oh no! Yeah, let him
So
have it.
I really tried to deep dive this because I wanted to figure out just how this movie got made with a disabled kid in this era. Once I realized the kid was actually disabled.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that until I started researching to like prep for this podcast. I just assumed that, they found a kid and got him in a wheelchair. So the director says that the producer called him for this movie, and they had a cast, they had most of the cast, they had the crew, they had everything but a script. And they said, we're going to start filming. You're going to write the script on weekends. So this may explain a few things.
It explains a lot.
But the director, whose last name was Raffle, I did not copy and paste the first name here for some reason, says the producer wanted to use an actor who was handicapped. So he found a kid who had spina bifida. The kid had never acted before, but he was a wonderful kid. But when they finished it, it was as if the fact that he was was a real encumbered person to play the person didn't mean anything to the people who were who was in the disability community. He claims that even disabled people didn't care that we used a real disabled kid. So why did we do it?
I find that very hard to believe.
I don't think they promoted a lot.
I
don't think they really and I think it was one of those things that if you didn't know, you didn't know.
Yeah, and
I mean,
they didn't have the internet.
I haven't seen any press from the time. I mean, now they would make a bigger deal out of it, and it'd be the wokeness and all that. They then, as far on, so that he mentioned spina bifida that. Where is it here? Talks about the rolling down the hill sequence, and I'm assuming some of the car chase sequence as well.
Yes, yeah.
Raffle noted that Eric performed a portion of the stunts himself, explaining that.
Oh no!
And I did confirm he was talking about the kid had performed the stunts, not the director doing it.
Okay.
He then said, "It's very hard to do physical things when you're in that condition. It's very hard to make a wheelchair work because it's not a very balanced thing."
Wow.
When you start going fast in a wheelchair, you place tremendous risk on the child. So you have to try and figure out how to do that in a controlled fashion. Now, yes, this was a lot of hill, but this guy has clearly never spoken to a wheelchair user before, even back then.
Yeah.
And possibly even the person that he worked with.
I'm just sitting here shaking my head back and forth, y'all. This is wild to me.
Now I could have understood if this was the wheelchair that Tom Cruise was using in Born on the 4th of July, right, or Major Dan used from Forrest Gump,
right?
Where it is the wheelchair that you roll out of the hospital in.
No.
But this kid had what was the top of the line wheelchair for the time, and a wheelchair very close from what I've seen to most wheelchair users use now. So this was, you wouldn't have wanted to do that hill with the kid with disabilities to begin with. I'm sure there are laws against that. But
Oh.
the idea of, oh yeah, this gets so unwieldy when it goes fast is absolute BS.
It's again wild to me that people in charge of, ensuring the well-being of this child didn't do better research. And again, a lot of people are going to.
I'm sure he was not in charge of it. He was just the director,
right?
But
well, I mean, working with child actors, you would hope they would have some kind of, I don't know, knowledge behind that. But woof, listen to you read that. I'm sitting here not shaking my head and just hanging my head. Wow.
Yes. Also, it's a bit sketchy as to what the exact partnership was with McDonald's, because, like they said, don't put Ronald McDonald in, and then Ronald McDonald is magically in, and it was the official Ronald McDonald from the commercials of the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it also said there was a partnership deal where a lot of the funds from the movie, which is sad it didn't make a lot of money, was also going to support Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what the deal was with that. But as we've gone almost an hour and 10 minutes talking about this beyond belief batshit hallucination of a movie, Jamie, would you like to plug your many, many ventures?
Yeah, sure. Well, like Wes so graciously introduced me with, I'm the other half of the Bloody Broads pod on all social media and wherever you listen. We're a horror movie podcast that takes a look at horror through the lens of every intersection you can think of. And then my career path podcast is called How Did You Get Here? Usually listed in all caps. It's on Spotify and Apple, again, wherever you get podcasts. And if you've ever watched Inside the Actors Studio and wanted to know those same questions, maybe about a different path in life besides being an actor, that's essentially what I do. Different guests every week, same 5 questions, and we let the conversation go from there. You can find me on all social media as @GlitterBurrito or on Instagram as Jamie Kirsten Howard. It has to be my full name. I'm an actor, and I would love to talk to more people about movies. So thank you so much for having me on, Wes.
Thank you. And I'm thinking that, I may have to try and talk myself on to How Did You Get Here, and just like tell my OG background stories.
Yeah.
Because I've got a couple, but especially from like my very first time and like not knowing what the hell I'm doing, and like making an enemy that took years to fix. And
listen, I think there's always at least one experience that every either background artist or actor goes through where we might have done something that we're looking back just kind of cringing on.
Did you piss off the original bully from Degrassi High?
Okay, I didn't do that, so no.
Or Degrassi Junior High? Was it Degrassi Junior High? I don't know. Yeah, I pissed off the bully from the original Degrassi High.
Worse things could happen.
He was my first AD.
Good to know.
But yes, I am Wes of Disabledland, and this has been Disabledland. You can find me at Wes_of_Disabledland on Instagram and on TikTok until it is banned. And I'm not there anyway because it won't stop showing me dead children and weird pictures of Jesus.
Oh no.
You can find my merch at disabledland.threadless.com, and its family-friendly little sister, disabledlandkids.threadless.com. You can find the mother podcast that helped fund this podcast and make it happen, Bitching and Bolusing with Courtney and Brittney, at bitchingandbolusing.podbean.com, or just wherever you are listening to this podcast. And our little partnership has a Patreon at patreon.com/bitchingandbolusing, where every once in a while you can hear me even more unfiltered than here, and Brittney and Courtney do an extra episode per month. I will hopefully be doing those soon as well. And if you would like to support the construction of accessible school playgrounds for disabled kids, because mulch is apparently harder than a mine shaft to get around in a wheelchair, support the Recess Project at therecessproject.org or the Recess Project on pretty much all the socials except for Twitter, which is dying anyway. Jamie, Thank you so much. It has been so much fun. We need to find this excuse to do this again. I know you and Bobner are going to come on at some point, and we're going to do that Cronenberg-Ballard double feature.
Yes.
And yeah, it's been fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. Have a good day.